Hi everybody. There's a war brewing, and it's not just between the Avengers and Thanos. Oh no. And it's not just between Cable and Deadpool, because Deadpool 2's coming out. Not even close. This is a battle between XY and Delta printers on the next FLsun 3D. Now, there are a bunch of different factors we can consider. We can consider speed, reliability, but really when it comes down to it, we're going to consider how well they print. What's the quality of the print? So I've got two models. One is half of the shell of a Pokemon ball. I'm going to see if a Delta printer prints better concentric circles than an XY does, and then we'll take a look at a calibration cube that I've expanded from 20 millimeters to 26 millimeters, and we'll see how well each one of them does straight lines using a cube. So let's find out what happens. Now on your right, perennial favorite, this is an XY printer with a lot of electronic upgrades, which is good. It has a restart after losing power. It has a filament run out. All in all, really solid printer. It's the JGAurora A5. I've been using it for a couple months now, and it's really my go-to printer. It doesn't have the build volume of the CR10, but it's close. And so I can do a lot of things I can do on the CR10 with this. Set it and forget it, and I know that I won't have any problems with this. The Challenger is FLsun Cricket. This is something I've just picked up. Hit the market just a couple months ago. This also has the same software, same electronics that's in the JGAurora A5. So they're similar software. The build plate is similar to the Aurora. And not only does it have run out sensors and restart after it goes dead, but also it has mesh bed leveling. Okay, so it's got mesh bed leveling. It samples like 18 points using an electrode that's attached to the nozzle. So when the nozzle touches the metal and completes the circuit, it can map out this plate. You only have to do it once, and then your bed is leveled. There are no screws or adjustments to the bed itself. The nozzle does all of the adjustments, and it's set it and forget it. Pretty cool. So this is our test. We have an JGAurora A5, an XY printer, and on the other side we have an FLsun Cricket, a Delta printer. And we're going to test to see which one gives us the best circular pattern when we're printing things out. Like I said before, this is the top shell of a Pokeball. So it's going to be dome shape, and we can see how well they printed each one out, what the layers look like, and the lines. But this challenge was kind of unique because the Cricket isn't working the way I wanted to. How bad is the Cricket working? Well, I'll tell you. When I got the Cricket, everything printed out well, and then the pressure fitting that fits the Bowden tube into the extruder stopped working. And by stop working, I mean that this fitting was slipping out. You can see right here, here's the fitting. Right above it is the extruder motor, and the Bowden tube was popping out constantly. The pressure fitting would not hold it in place. So I thought, well, maybe it's the Bowden tube that they provided. Maybe I should get a better Bowden tube. So I did. So I went out and I got Capricorn. I got a Capricorn Bowden tube. This is about the best Bowden tube that you can get. It's nice, it's slick, there's less friction inside. I thought maybe the friction was causing this to pop out because the Bowden tube would pop out and then the filament would just start weaving its way around here all over the place and not go to the nozzle down here. But no, because the Bowden tube is made out of a material that is so slick, frictionless, it was even worse than before. So I called FLsun. I said I'm having this problem. I also talked to Chris on today's 3D print. And Chris, who had built one of these too, he told me, oh, don't worry, I had the same problem. There's a spare in the box. I looked in the box, no spare. So I had to contact FLsun. I do have the contact information for tech support. You can get it from Chris as well, over on his channel. And they said, oh, okay, well, we'll go ahead and send you that, a couple upgrades. Well, now I'm waiting for it to come from China, and it's definitely not FedEx Express to me. It's going to take a while, but I want to print. This printer's amazing. It's got mesh leveling at like 18 different points. The thing is a set and forget it. It's one of the most reliable printers I have, and I can't print for weeks and weeks and weeks. That's not going to hack it. So what do? We MacGyver it. Let me go ahead and show you what we did. All right. So over on this side, I looked around the house and I said, well, what do I have in the house that can fix a Bowden tube friction coupling? The answer is not a lot, but I did have cardboard and I did have duct tape. So what I did, and let me see if I can get a better picture of this for you. How's that? Oh yeah, it's much better. Okay, so I got cardboard, nice big piece, to make sure I had a lot of area to work with. And then I cut the ends here, scored it with an X-Acto knife so it would bend around the sides. It wasn't sticking out. So I have a lot of surface area here, this duct tape to keep it in place. Same thing on the other side. Then I cut a small notch on top, which I'll show you in a minute, and a notch on the bottom for the Bowden tube to go through. But I found that with the sides attached, there was still flex in the middle. So I put duct tape on top. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other side here. Let's turn this light back on. There we go. So I cut a small notch here. Just a tiny little slit. It's much smaller than the Bowden tube. So when I push the Bowden tube in place, the sides of the cardboard are pressing against it, keeping it in place. And then down here, I cut a big notch to allow free movement of the Bowden tube going back and forth, because this is an it's a Delta printer, so there is a lot of movement around and around. So I need this area here to give this free movement around here so it doesn't affect everything or pull this off. So we'll let this run, but so far it seems to be working well. I mean, even when you were just loading it, that was enough pressure to pop this out of place. But because it's at a slight angle, not much, but just a little, it's going to keep it pushed up inside. And with the tape around the other side, there we go. There we go. So that tape up here is going to cause a lot of friction because the Bowden tube is here, and they have tape running from here all the way down to here. And even though the Capricorn tube is really slick to reduce friction, this is enough tension here to prevent it from moving. I think if I only had a little bit up here and no tape down here, it may still slide out, but this is not sliding out because it's a curve that's pressed flat. So that should work well. So we're going to see what kind of results we get. I got to go on base and do some grocery shopping, and when I come back, we'll definitely see how these two went and whether I come back to a rat's nest over here with the Delta and filament everywhere coming out of there. So it should be exciting. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully this all works out well, and then we can get an example of both of these and which one looks better as far as the layers being laid down. Both printed successfully, and this one did not fall apart. There's no filament scribbled all over the place, which looks good. So now we'll try a square piece to see if the Delta printer can print as good as an XY printer. Taking a look at the curved surfaces first, or half Pokeballs. The one on the right is the JGAurora A5, and the one on the left is the FLsun Cricket. Now the settings on these is nothing special. Both of them have a 0.4mm nozzle. I printed both of them out at 0.2 layer height. 4 tops, 4 bottoms, 3 shells, 6% infill. The PLA was heated to 204 degrees and the bed was heated to 40. So those are pretty standard settings. They're the same size, shape, everything. All I did in Simplify 3D is edit the printer to save one and then edit and change and save the other. We're using generic PLA, so there's nothing special there. Just the cheapest stuff that I could buy from Amazon. Now, if you look at the FLsun Cricket, know that I haven't dialed it in yet. There's going to be some zitting because this is the first time I've had it really be reliable in a print because of the problem with the compression fitting. But even so, if you're looking at this, you can see that the JGAurora A5, pretty nice. I mean, that's almost Ender quality. You can't see any of the lines if you just take a quick look. The top, you notice that you can see the circles on the top, but barely make them out. With the Cricket, well, you can already see the layers here, and when you get to the top, it's worse. As you can see, they're very distinct on top. So the top layers are not great. Now I start to dial that in a little bit, but I thought that the Cricket would have the advantage, and it doesn't seem to be. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cubes. Okay, so these are the cubes. That's my XY, and that is the Cricket. Let me straighten them up. So the top of the A5, pretty nice. You can still see some of the lines, but for a top that's pretty good. For this, you can see a lot more of the lines on top. So the tops and bottoms, not great here, but the sides are pretty close. Let me go to the X. So you see the X here, this is the side here, pretty nice and smooth. The X here, also pretty nice and smooth. So from what I'm seeing with the Delta, the problem is with the tops and bottom layers, but the side layers, pretty nice. I did notice that the letters are a little more messy, but this hasn't been dialed in, like I said. We're just looking and seeing how the layers go together. So the sides are pretty even. The tops and bottoms definitely go to the Aurora. So what did we learn? Well, we did learn that there's no inherent advantage in the configuration of the printer, be it XY or Delta. There doesn't seem to be an advantage one way or the other. When you're going in a concentric circle, actually the JGAurora won, definitely won. So there's no advantage being a Delta printer and moving the 3 axes around, trying to make smoother circles, because that didn't happen. And as far as the cubes go, although the top layers did go to the A5, the sides were pretty even. So I think if I dial that in just a little bit more, the Delta and the XY are going to be very close. But in this battle, in this death match between the two printers, definitely goes to JGAurora A5. All right, it's hard to beat this printer. They're similar in price, but the quality you're getting from this is very good. I'm sure that the Cricket will get a little bit better. And with the Cricket, I like having to just calibrate the bed one time and then always being level, but still, the best bang for the buck between these two would have to go to the JGAurora A5. Not only is this printer good, there's a group of dedicated people that are constantly upgrading the Marlin for this, so you can get upgrades online pretty consistently, making the printer better and better. As always, go ahead and subscribe below. The more we subscribe, the more our channel can grow. I appreciate you being with us today on FLsun 3D, and you have a great day.